Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Rate W20 HD. This is a Banggood only 2-inch 2S. There'll be a link down in the video description. And if you're looking for 2-inch 2S with DJI, this is one I can recommend because it's a load of fun. The all-in-one flight controller is kind of nondescript according to the specifications. They just call it a H415. It does have a 15 amp, 32-bit ESC with the ICM 42688. Motors are Rate 1202.5, 11,500 kV. Specs on the website say it has HQ props, but that's got to be a typo because it comes with GemFan 2023, the classic 2-inch tri-bladed prop. This micro, of course, comes with the O4 or O4 Lite, and we have a wide magnification happening out here, and this is quite sturdy and firm. I have crashed this a number of times. Nothing has loosened up even a little bit. T antenna for Express LRS, linear antenna for your VTX. Battery connection is an XT30, all inside a 3D print. 3D print also for the feet. It's also got some pretty cool multicolored LED lights here on the bottom. USB port for your all-in-one flight controller is accessible right there, and it did come with the plug that goes inside. And your USB-C port for activating and getting the flight footage off of your VTX. Right here. These batteries will all fit inside these holders. I do recommend a battery strap with a battery pad though. We'll talk more about that later. For the best fitting battery, that would be the Tattoo R-Line. It's a little bit taller. And then next up would be the Lava 550. And then after that, the loosest battery is the G&B 550. And this side holsters for your balance lead. And you can see with this fixed camera angle, you're not going to get super long batteries in here unless they hang off the backside. The Rate W20 HD weighs 71.23 grams. With the Tattoo R-Line 550, it weighs 102.85 grams. With the Beta FPV Lava 550, it weighs 100.55 grams. And with the G&B 550, it weighs 99.81 grams. Carbon fiber looks to be 2.5 millimeters thick, with the top plate being 1.5 millimeters thick. And motor post to motor post, I'm getting about 99 millimeters. It also comes with spare parts. You have some screws, you have extra floor mat. Those are the feet. More screws, longer screws. This is to hold your battery holder or battery cell, as it's labeled there. We have some shocking dampeners that would be on your all-in-one or your VTX, and you have 2 spare standoffs and a company branded hex driver. It also comes with a quick start guide. As you can see, the very first page there is on the plug and play kit. I would just get it with the VTX and camera already in it. It's $250, which seems very reasonable to me. And the last page covers those cool LED lights on the bottom. We have an unusually nice day. It did cool off from this time, and I was actually chatting with a few people about our weather. 93 degrees Fahrenheit and only 8 miles an hour wind. Today was still nice. It got to 62 and the winds were about the same. I was out flying this yet again this evening because the other evening it was kind of windy. So I wanted to go out and fly some more because this is one that I really enjoy. Now this doesn't mean it's flawless. But going into this, I was concerned a little bit about weight and performance because I saw where those motors are 1202s, and that seemed unusually big. But there's also a deficiency that you'll probably pick up in the PID tune. It doesn't handle prop wash as good as I think it could, especially running a 1202 motor, I think. Because I have had similar quads like this running 1102 or 1103 motors, which I believe those motors both weigh less than a 1202, or at least it should, but it doesn't always work out that way when it comes to micro motors. It's maybe negligible or very, very, very close. But I was a little surprised with the prop wash handling. Of course, with all micros, when it comes to prop wash, there's a little bit of flight technique. But in this particular case, I thought that there was a little bit more prop wash than actually is normal or that you'd normally find, and you have to just fly around it. So I noticed, especially when you come in from vertical moves and you start to apply throttle, that you'll sometimes get that whirl, that as you come down, and not as even you come down very flat. It kind of handles it all the same, whether you come down real flat or real smooth. There is a sweet spot in there. I hit it a few times, but I didn't hit it regularly. You'll find in this video where there are some times where I get some of that prop wash, and there are a few times where it's pretty minimized, or maybe I don't. Just due to that feathering technique or applying the throttle and getting on it hard enough when you need to. Sometimes you have to bring it up real slow. Sometimes you got to jam it and get on it right away. But a lot of fun. I was pleasantly surprised with Not only how it flew, but how durable it was. I crashed this quite a bit, and I've got a little crash reel I'll put together for you. There's no sound, but I pulled out about, I don't know, it's probably less than half of the crashes that I had on the quad. But there's one that's fairly dramatic. It's where I got tripped up in a branch high up in a tree, and then it hit the cement. It wasn't the only time I hit the cement, but it was probably the highest that I hit the cement from. As far as flight times, if you cruise this around on a 550 like the Tattoo R-Line or the Beta FPV Lava battery, my G&Bs are pretty old, and I think they're kind of tired and they need to be refreshed. But you'll get about 5 minutes of cruise time, and with this sort of freestyle, you get somewhere between 245 and you might get 255, 3 minutes. It depends on your freestyle. I think the other thing to keep in mind is this is a fixed camera angle. There is no adjustment, so hopefully that was apparent in the specs. But you can see that we've landed. I did not nail my ending voltage. I usually want to try to get it right at 3.5 volts, and I got 246. So I could have flown, you know, at least another 5 seconds on this particular battery. As I mentioned, the deficiencies that I see with this, so I do recommend it. I think it's fun, and for me, this camera angle doesn't bother me. And I'll put some cruising footage up here. You can actually nearly hover in place. Like there's a certain segment of this cruising footage where I'm hovering on the ground and I'm looking at a squirrel. You know, a squirrel's only, what, 6-7 inches tall off the ground, and they're in the grass a little bit too with their lower half as they sit there. And I was able to pretty much hover in front of it. I would say I was within 5 feet. So that gives you some idea. Of course, you know, if you're new, that can create a new challenge to the flight, because camera angle is one of the ways we can control our speed, but some people just like to fly at a lower camera angle, and this is the default camera angle. So that's something you very much want to be certain you're going to be okay with. Unless you're going to, if you have the skill set and the printer, you could remix this or somehow make some sort of modifications to suit you if you really want to give this one a go, but you do want lower camera angle. But this was kind of one of the concerns with the low camera angle is it's, you know, cameras like this are oftentimes out here and out proud and can come into damage, but, you know, no damage for me, and I had to have hit it at least a few times, and it's not even like wiggle loose, like I'm trying to make it move. Solid as a rock. The little lens that's here on the end, that didn't pop out. They don't include any spares. We have a little bit of protection built into their print, if you can see, they catch the lips around there. So that was something else that impressed me, as well as the carbon fiber. I think going 2.5 millimeters was the right choice. Back when I worked with Jack's 3D printing on making the Rocket Race, still one of my favorites, but it's made for analog. That was kind of the time. I fly it regularly still, 2-inch 2S. That was one of the things that we found was the sweet spot for weight and durability was 2.5 millimeters thick. This, of course, has kind of a dual arm, so you have extra, you could call them extra, but it's just part of the arm support. The one downside that I don't care for is that our motor wires, and I talk about this quite a bit, our motor wires don't have anything holding them down. So let's do the little test here. But they've cut the motor wires short enough where it's not getting anywhere near it. And if you look closely at these motors, you'll find that they're soldered here at the base. So that to me tells me that we've got a little PCB down here, and that I can't hardly see it with my old eyes. Hopefully you can see it in the camera. Let me zoom in. Maybe that'll help us both. Yeah, so this has got a PCB down here. That's something else that I look at for motors, is you can get motor wire damage and you can replace the whole motor wire, especially if it's got this PCB back here, because you don't have to worry about soldering to these enameled motor wires that are traditional, that they would just come right out. So you've got a PCB down here. Kind of standard nowadays, but something I think we still have to look out for. I think the other deficiency that I have to point out that I started with the quick specs is you are limited on your batteries. It's pretty much only the 550s and 450s are going to fit. I didn't hardly fly with the 450s because my 450s, the way I fly, the flight times were about 2 minutes. So I just went up to the 550s. The 450s fit a lot like the 550 does from G&B. It's a little bit loose, it's a little bit sloppy, and you can see how easy that kind of slid in there. It doesn't like fall out, but it's going to come out if I shake it enough. Versus the Tattoo R-Line is going to stay in there pretty well, and the Lava 550 is a little bit loose now that I've put this one in there a few times, but yeah, it's coming right out too. So These are probably, at this point, with my battery holder, about the same, although this one is a little bit thicker, and when this battery holder was fresher and I hadn't put this one in so much, this did hold a little bit better. Of course, if you have only these batteries and you have any sort of issue with this, you can always take some electrical tape and either just line it up and put some electrical tape here and here to kind of bulk up those areas, or just lay some across one side or another, or you can do a horseshoe type shape if you want to just cut longer strips. That, of course, you're adding more weight than absolutely necessary, but that's something else that you can do to make your batteries a little bit more secure if you don't want to go the route of a battery mat that's sticky and texturized, as well as a battery strap. Now, long term, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these battery holders off and I'm going to put a battery mat, a battery strap on there, just so that I can be sure that in my crashing that my batteries stay put, because I do plan on keeping this. I do plan on flying it more, and I have enjoyed it. Not to give you the hard sale, but 2-inch 2S is one of my favorites, so keep that, my bias, in mind there. But one of the reasons why I like 2-inch 2S so much is that they're small, so you can fly them in a lot of places. They're not menacing, so they don't have that high pitch that makes you wonder what the heck is going on in the neighborhood. Matter of fact, tonight I was flying, and my one neighbor was out grilling. I had texted them. They're like, yeah, go ahead, fly. So he was out grilling, and the little girls next door were out playing in their backyard. No one even noticed. Didn't interrupt anybody's playing. I didn't hear anything from anyone. And it's because these don't make a lot of noise, but they still have a little bit of that big quad flavor. Big punch outs, or relatively big punch outs, with that 2S power and a 2-inch prop, as well as the ability to have some carry in power loops or zero throttle maneuvers. And they're agile, so you can fly them in, like I said, a lot of places, whether it's a smaller backyard, a side yard, a Walmart parking lot, a neighborhood park that's way smaller than my yard. You could still have a lot of fun with 2-inch 2S. I think the barriers that I tried to draw out was, I think the PID tune could be improved a little bit for the prop wash, especially when you come in from those vertical sort of moves. I worry a little bit about the non-adjustable camera angle for those of you that don't want to fly at whatever degree this is, which is that, I'm guessing that's 15 to 20. So that's something to keep in mind. And then the last thing is, I just would prefer a strap. This is clean, and they've done things nicely to where you have the battery holder, or the balance lead connector over here on the side, and then you've got your battery connector down here at the bottom. So everything's very clean with the way they built it. But for me, I just want that extra security. My battery's not going to go flying when I have a crash, because I do crash. I crash quite a bit. Hopefully I've shown you a few of those crashes. If you missed it, I've described it once, but there was one crash where I hit a tree branch that's about house height or thereabouts. And then when I come down, I think I bang off of one of the metal chairs at the table that I'm sitting at, and then I hit the cement, and there's a battery ejection, so we don't get to see all the video. The battery actually slid across the cement pad and hit me in the foot, and the quad was about halfway between me and the house. So I thought that was a pretty substantial crash. Survived right through it. Barely looks like it's been crashed at all. The props have shown more wear than anything else. And I think I failed to mention in my quick specs, you do get an extra set of props. It comes with 2 sets. I've just used half of my spare set already because of, flying and having fun. And the price. $246.99, I think, as it is tonight. Banggood pricing has a tendency to fluctuate quite a bit. What do you think about that price? That's the 04 wide with the camera and everything. If you don't want it with the cam and VTX, it's $120, $119.68, those US dollars, of course. But I would, because the way it's mounted and the fact that camera lasted through all my crashes, several into the cement, I would suggest, unless you're very hard pressed, get it with the camera and everything already mounted. It's going to make your experience of getting up and flying and that security of that camera being inside their housing much better. Of course, they have instructions in their quick guide on how you mount your camera inside of that. So that is something you can do if you have an 04 sitting in your bin that you can use on this quad. And you do save yourself, $120 or something like that. But I'll put a link down in the video description. This was a pleasant surprise for me. I think there's a lot of cool features that they have. They did a lot of things well, but they didn't do everything perfectly. but I think it's one that you could still have a lot of fun with. If you do have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know in the comments section below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.